am Dr. Pamela, and I'm so excited to have you here tonight, today, whatever time it is with you right now, because another amazing person is gracing this platform, and I'm just so blessed to have her here tonight and getting a chance to know her more, coming all the way from the future in Australia. Well, it's the future for me because I'm in America. So she's coming not just from Australia, she's coming from the future. I want to welcome Joanna. Yay! Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you, Pamela. It's amazing to be here. And yes, I am dialing in from the future. Very excited to have the opportunity to spend time with you today.
I am so excited. And before we start the official questions, I have to ask you, dialing in from the future, how's the future looking?
The future is looking bright. It's busy, but it's exciting. There's a lot of amazing things coming. So the future is actually looking incredible from where I sit.
Love it. Okay, great. So let's jump in. Tell us, who are you?
Oh, that's a very interesting question because it could be answered in many ways. And the question of who am I is a very fundamental one that every human being at some point needs to answer. So, if you want to understand who I am in the context of my titles and what I do, I can certainly give that to you, but I'll also give you who I am underneath at the core of all of that too. So I am the chief ambassador at The Successful Woman, which is an international global movement which empowers the success of women around the world. So that is, in essence, the title of what I do. I'm a business mentor. I speak, I write, I coach. I come from an extensive business background, a business ownership background myself. So that is my background of what I've been doing in the world. But who am I? I'm actually a very generous, kind, intuitive soul, an intelligent woman, very capable, but I love helping people. So, at the essence of all of that, that is who I am. I'm a bright spark in the world, and I just like to get out there and help as many people as I can.
Oh, I love that. A bright spark in the world. That is really beautiful, which makes sense that you would be a mentor, because a mentor would be a bright, or should be a bright spark, and then desires to see the best in anybody and everybody and bring it out of them and help them. So your heartbeat is mentorship. And then on top of that, you get to speak, and you're going to talk about that a little bit too, and write. And oh my goodness, and this mentorship program of yours is global. This is
Yeah.
amazing. So, even though you're coming from the future, you are global all the time. So you're working with people internationally all over. It sounds like predominantly women. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Wow. All right. So what an incredible journey. So with you, we're going to tour the globe. This is going to be a fun night. Everybody buckle up. Let's start with your journey. How did all this happen? What is your story that you would land in mentorship and then launch out into the deep as you have done?
Yeah, well, the story starts some 25 years ago, really. I started my working career as an architect and a designer, and I quickly became Australia's youngest female architect and builder. So I had dual licensing. And as you can imagine, it was a very male dominated domain. While I was going through university, there were as many women as there were men. But when I got out into the actual reality of becoming registered and working on construction sites, it was a completely different game. So at heart, I love to design things. I love to create. And it was an amazing experience for me to be trained in the process of imagining things and then bringing them to life, which is a fantastic skill that you can apply to anything. So as I moved through my life, I met my husband at the time, and he came from a financial background, an insurance background, and we started a mortgage company. So that was a little bit of a 180-degree turn in terms of career, but I applied a lot of the skills that I'd learned in architecture to that business. And we worked together over 20 years to build a very successful company here in Australia that went from 2 to 200 people. We were one of the fastest growing companies in the country 3 years in a row. We had offices internationally all around the country. And so over that 20-year history of building that business, we actually developed a direct to retail channel, we had a wholesale channel, and we also had a funding channel. So that was a very dynamic business journey. But while I was doing that, I also kept my fingers in the pie of design. So I was always designing our office fit outs, the homes, the properties that we owned, anything that I could design, events. I was just creating all of the time. So I had this very interesting and very varied life, which had a lot of different parts to me that was happening all at the same time. So it took me a long time to realize that my master skill was actually variety. So handling such a variety of things was really what I was good at doing. And at the heart of that, as I said, when I first introduced myself, I just loved working with the people. I loved our team. I loved helping people. I loved creating an amazing experience for people. I was able to create a retreat center on the beachfront at Byron Bay, which is a very famous part of Australia. All the famous movie stars are coming to live there now. So I was able to create a retreat space there. Sting was our first guest. So creating buildings and businesses and people and teams, it was all mixed in together. And then in 2016, my life changed dramatically. So at that point in time, I went through a separation with my husband, and everything in the fabric of my life was completely pulled apart. I mean, everything, where I lived, what I did, my image of myself, my identity, my future, absolutely everything was pulled apart, torn down, so that I could really get to the essence of, well, who am I and what do I want to do and why am I on this planet in the first place? And it was around that time that I realized that it was time for me to bring mentors in, that I had hit rock bottom, and that it was time for me to really integrate the life learnings that I needed to understand so that I could move forward and be whole. So at that time, amongst the many people that I met, I was gifted the opportunity to meet Ron Malhotra, who's an amazing man here in Australia. He comes from a financial planning background. He's a wealth advisor. He's a big influencer. He's an educator. He's a thought leader. He's just amazing. And I remember the day that it happened. It was quite incredible. I was feeling very depressed. I'd suffered quite a bit of depression, as likely to happen when you go through an event like that. And I decided that cold water swimming was going to help me. So I got out of the pool on the freezing winter day, and I walked inside and I said to my daughter at the time, I'm going to get myself a mentor. It's time to get out of here. And that's exactly what I did. I went upstairs, I made a phone call. I was lucky to have the conversation with Ron. And from that point on, he took me on as a mentee. And he really helped me move through those foundational shifts that I needed to at that time to really discover who I am underneath all of that and rebuild myself. So my journey with becoming a mentor started with being a mentee and understanding the power of working with somebody that can show you the path ahead and can light the path ahead for you, give you the indication of, things that might be coming your way, things to avoid, your blind spots, because we all have blind spots. So from that point in time, I've been a big advocate of always having a mentor. I still have mentors in my life. I have quite a few mentors depending on what it is I'm working on. And I now have the opportunity to work in The Successful Woman with Ron. So Ron was the founder of The Successful Woman. And when he was looking for women to step in as an ambassador, I got the opportunity to step in as an ambassador in that movement. And so now I continue to have the opportunity to work with Ron at the next level of my development every day. And I also get the ability to mentor women with the things that I've learned too. So that was my introduction into mentorship. A bit of a long story and a bit of a long journey, but it was really getting to that point in my life where everything was stripped from me, and then I had to rebuild it and decide what were the parts of me that I wanted to carry forward, and what is it that's really important to me to give to the world for the rest of my life. And that's really my story.
That is powerful. What parts of me do I want to carry forward? to be able to bless and move into the rest of my life and all the people that I can affect. I love that, what you just said. What parts of me do I want to carry forward? Isn't that liberating to know that you can choose?
It absolutely is. It can be confronting too, because most of us have parts of ourselves that we may not like. And
True.
so a part of that process is also really accepting and understanding those parts of ourselves that we choose to let go of.
Mm.
And there's a process. If you deny them, they persist. If you embrace them and understand where they came from and why they exist, then that's the power that you can choose to let them go and move forward.
Powerful. I took some notes here. So just kind of wanted to circle back to a couple of things because you said so many amazing things. You know, here you are, this creator designer. So it's in you to create, it's in you to design. And to me, that is such a bonus as a mentor because you are not going to be looking at people as a textbook because your heartbeat is to create and design. So that architect can come out of you in a completely different way. Do you feel that way as a mentor to others?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I think everybody needs to understand that, you have complete autonomy over designing your own life. Many people think that we don't, or that we create the limitations around what we believe is possible. But I believe that we have absolute autonomy to create whatever we want in life. And so understanding the design process and going through the design process has got different stages, but it does play out with people too. And one of the things that I love to do is, and this is our recent focus with a successful woman, is we're actually creating retreats for women where not only will you get to connect with other amazing women, but you'll actually go on an entire experience that will be designed for you. So you'll get the benefit of the time and the content and the learning, but you'll also be transformed and moved through a series of processes. And as you develop as a person and as a woman, we're always going to have these shifts that we make, these realizations that we get to, these aha moments where we realize the context of things, where, as we talked about before, you make the decision to change or to be somebody new or to let go of something that's no longer serving you. And so designing experience is a very important part of that, because it's not just an intellectual journey that we go on. It's an intellectual, an emotional, a physical, a spiritual, it's all of it together. And you really have to design in totality for that, not just the logical, very right brain work that we do. That's very important too. It has to be, you have to have the goods, you have to have the logic, it has to work, particularly in business. But it's all the other parts that are attached to it too that will sometimes either enhance what you do or hold you back from being able to move forward with that.
No, I love that. It'll either enhance or hold you back. You're so right. There's so much more than just the brick and mortar. There is that whole other depth of going within or going up or within and up, whatever works for you. But there is a huge part there of working from the inside out and the mindset and all of that kind of thing. I love the idea of a designing experience. And you said successful women, and you've mentioned that a few times, that you light up when you say it. So can you tell us about this program? Tell us about the retreats, whatever it is. I can tell, like I said, you just light up when you share. So share some more about the successful women, your ambassadorship, whatever it is that's on your heart.
Sure. Well, the Successful Woman is an amazing movement, and it actually began several years ago, just before COVID hit. And we launched in India. So we had a couple of years, Namrita and I were working in India, which is an incredible country to participate in. And we were doing a lot of mentoring work with foundational confidence. So foundational confidence, where does resilience come from? What actually is work-life balance? How do you have emotional mastery? So we were working a lot with these concepts, really helping women envision a different life that might be possible. I was also working one-on-one with women that needed career coaching. So, I obviously was, the general manager of a very big, busy, successful business. And I'd understood the process of moving through a career and what the different skill gaps are as you move from being a manager to a leader. What are the different qualities that you need? And how do you develop them? Because there's a whole range of soft skills that women need that you don't learn in school and you don't necessarily learn at university. And they're the ones that really define who can move from being a middle level manager to an executive. So I had a great opportunity to work with quite a few women that were developing their career. They've all been getting promotions. They've now been getting directors positions, and it's just been fantastic to see. So India, to put into context, has about 3% female CEOs, which is similar to the United States. Here in Australia, we have 15%. So in Australia, we have a very strong foothold of women that are taking executive leadership positions. So it was wonderful to go to another country and become immersed to really help make changes in that country moving forward and to participate in that next wave of what's going to happen for women who are working. But one of the things that became evident to me is that I have this incredible business experience. And I think if you look at the statistics of the size of the company and the turnover of the company and the age of the company, it's about the top 2% of businesses. And one of the things that's happening all across the world at the moment is female entrepreneurs is the fastest growing sector of entrepreneurship in the world. And in the United States alone, small businesses last year grew by 29%. There are 13 million female entrepreneurs in the United States, and there's 1.8 trillion turnover that those businesses create. So one of the things that I'm incredibly passionate about is helping women in business that might be in the early parts of their journey really understand what they need to be able to grow their businesses. There is a very defined process that you go through when you move from a small team of 3 to 5 people up to 10 to 15 people. And then it changes again when you get up to 30 to 50 people. And then it changes again when you get up to 100 people. So when I say I'm dialing in from the future, I am dialing in from Australia from the future. But one of the things I realized is that I've had a lot of experience of all the things that I went through with that company as we grew that business and went through those cycles. And one of the most important statistics to understand is that in the first 5 years, 50% of entrepreneurs will no longer be in business. So the 5-year mark is a critical mark that we need to get as many women through as we possibly can, because not to say that there won't be challenges after that, but getting through 5 years is a critical mark. And so we have all these amazing women all around the world that are entering entrepreneurship without necessarily the skills that they need. And so what happens is they get busy in their businesses, they get trapped in the middle of their companies. All of the reasons that they started the business in the first place quickly go out the door. They're stressed, they're doing roles that they don't enjoy, they're not able to replicate themselves. And that's where we like to come in and help them restructure their thinking about their business world and what the business needs to actually have a plan to move forward. So as you can see, it's the architect in me, like planning, like structure, like to have a diagram to follow. So that's become a big love of what I'm doing. So I've been speaking more and more about the rise of the founderpreneur and the qualities of the founder, the qualities of the entrepreneur, and the story of what happened for us about 15 years into the business journey and how I realized that becoming a founderpreneur was the most effective way to grow a company and what that really means. And so I'm trying to share that message with as many women as I can around the world so that they have the benefit of what took us 15 years to learn, they might get in year 2 or year 3 or year 4, so that we've got the best possibility for getting as many ladies through with successful companies. Because I believe we need change on the planet. And I believe that one of the ways that we're going to do that is by having more women own businesses, because it's the people that we bring into our businesses, it's the products and services that we provide in our businesses, it's the way that we have our general business in the world, the way that we hold ourselves. All of these things are going to create a ripple of change around the planet. And that's my bigger vision for the successful woman, is that we can help to participate global change by empowering women in their businesses.
That is so powerful. And you say it with such passion. Like, I'm excited. Like, sign me up, okay?
Coming to the next retreat.
Because you know what? We do need leaders all over the world that are empowering women. It is our season. It is our time. It's been our season and our time for a long time, but there is something special about these days that we're in. And you're right, you're seeing women popping up all over the scene everywhere. And we need to have those mentorships, those programs available where women can come and get help. They can get refreshed. They can feel like they're not alone, and they can have community. Community is a big deal. And I'm curious because you obviously work with women, you have all of these different programs, you're the ambassador of this program, and you were also talking about retreats. So could you share a little bit just from your vantage point about community?
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic because the rise of communities is going to be a new business model around the world. But I think at the essence of any community, there has to be something that's stood for, something that you want to follow, something that you believe in, but also something that contributes back. So what I'm noticing in the world at the moment is, recently I had the opportunity to be in the United States, and that was amazing to be with Kern Cherry and the other co-hosts at the Powerhouse Summit. And at the essence of that event really demonstrated to me the difference that can happen when you come from a space of collaboration. And I think what's going to happen around the planet is there are a lot of communities that are popping up, but ultimately they're self-serving to the leader of the community, right? And that's a very different vibe or atmosphere to a community where people genuinely are showing up to say, how can I serve you? Because there's enough abundance in the world for me to be successful and for you to be successful too, and for the person beside you to be successful as well. So I think what's going to happen in globally is that there's going to become a shift of not just do I want to be a part of a community, but what's the collaborative nature of this community really? And what I'm noticing is this defining time that we're going to go through as women, because there are a lot of women networking groups, there are a lot of women communities, but there is a significant difference in the feel and the atmosphere of a community that is genuinely collaborative and doesn't actually have a secret competition based underneath it. And I think that that's going to become something that all women around the world are going to become more discerning about. And I definitely can feel the difference. There are some groups that it's like, yes, this is the real deal. People are actually here for each other in this forum. And then there are other communities that it's glitz, it's marketing, it's tactics, it's about subscriptions. It looks like it's actually collaborative, but really it's not. It's very tightly controlled and there's not a lot of room for self-expression. So I can see that we're going to come, the rise of community is definitely something that's going to become more and more on the world. And if we look at the global things that are happening right now, It's a very interesting time because we've gone through divide and conquer. We've gone through mass fear. We've gone through, people being restricted in their movement, what they can do. So COVID has brought this, wave of negativity and fear, really. But it's also brought this understanding that we can work digitally. We can connect, through a screen. And believe it or not, while the world is a large place, the connections that you make can be very strong and very intentional. And you really are connected by a series of, 5, 6, 8 people, right? If you follow through the chain, you will find someone somewhere that will connect you back. So connection is really the next wave. And at the heart of community, that's what community is all about, is feeling that connection. And I can see that on a bigger scale, what will happen is people will realize that while we're talking locally or we're talking as a part of a community, actually we are all connected. And the power of the community is a global community. And the sooner that we realize that we have that level of connection and that level of innate power amongst us to change things, then things are really going to get interesting. So that's what I can see on the future, is this delineation between collaboration and competition, and a delineation between, local, country-based communities and international communities. And I think that those connections are just going to grow and get stronger and stronger. And people are going to become clearer about making sure that the real truth rises up.
I love that. And I agree 110% on that. It's as if the community globally is like, it's getting tighter. Like here we are. Perfect example. I'm in the US, you're in Australia. Like, just think about that. And we're having this beautiful conversation, enjoying each other's company, collaborating, so to say. And yet we're on the opposite sides of the globe, literally. For me, it is Tuesday night. For you, it's Wednesday morning. But here in this space, it's you and I. And I would have to get on a plane and travel for a long time to get to you. But in a second, we can be like this. And as we realize that and begin to utilize that, as a power for good, right? Yeah, there can be so much that we can do, that these communities that grab this can do to change the world. And I agree with you so much. The world needs change, and it's our turn, ladies, to lead in that change. And who better than us? Women have a lot of abilities that have been kind of swept under the carpet for a long time, but that's all coming out now, and it's our time. And I think your journey, if I can just circle back to a couple of things that you shared, is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. So your journey in relation to, first of all, having this innate gift to design and create, going and following that to the best of your ability, and as an architect, what a gift. And you're just loving that, and you're in school and you're learning all of this, and you're all excited, like, charge into my future, right? And then
Yep.
you get there and you're like, not so easy. But now you have that experience of having the desire, the education, and now you're in the workforce. So then you end up changing that experience. You end up in this multifaceted international business that's doing amazing things. I wrote down that you had a wholesale company, international, 20 years, growing. I mean, and all the things that you said, with starting with a few, gaining, growing, all these different things that you're doing. And I actually wrote down that your life had such variety in it, all these different things that your hands were touching, that your life was like a garden. And I was writing that down, and then you said variety. And I was like, yes, her life has been like a garden. Like, you've had this experience, and it's not just been a little experience. You have experienced it front to back, top to bottom, inside out, roundabout. Like you didn't just get in and do a little bit of an entrepreneurship, like 20 years, multifaceted, huge business, international. That's big. And then all the other experiences you had up to that point. And now the rug is pulled out and everything that you've known has changed. What is Joanna going to do? She seeks mentorship. Little did you know that you were beginning on your the next best part of you, mentorship. And you make a decision to find somebody that knows more than you, that's been on the road in front of you, that can believe the best in you and help you craft your story, like to bring you to that place, to use all of these gifts that you have. And here you are now, how many years later, all of this being used. Talk about divine alignment. Okay, we're just going to take that, we're going to add this. And now here you are as a mentor, not just being mentored. And all of this wealth of experience and pouring it into women in India, in Australia, all over the world. This is so powerful. And here I am getting to talk to you. How exciting is this? So when you kind of stop for a minute, can you like take that pause and you look back at your life and you think of where you're at now? Can you see the dots connect as you look back?
Yes, I absolutely can now. And I think there's a defining moment when, we've talked a lot about purpose and who am I? Your first question was, who am I? Right? And that's a very deep question because it's actually not about my role or even what I do. It's, who am I?
Yes,
what am I? Right?
love it.
But a very important part of that is really being able to connect with your purpose in life. And some people are lucky. They might be 7 years old, they love playing the piano, and they know that that's their purpose in life. I was lucky too, but it took me a lot longer to gain clarity on the bigger picture of my purpose because I had all of these things to go through. But one thing is the same for everybody, which is there's something completely unique about you that cannot be replicated in the world by any other being.
Right.
And your purpose is innately tied to that somehow. And once again, talking about what's happening in the planet, we're conditioned to separate things. We're conditioned to separate things all the time, to compare each other, to separate personal and professional. The truth is that when you get to that part where you're able to collect all of the parts of you, all of your experiences, the good, the bad, the difficult, the challenging, the exciting, all the parts about yourself that you love, all the parts about yourself that you find difficult to face in the mirror each day, and you put that together, that's where your purpose lives.
Yes.
And that's where you can really move forward from a completely different space because you're moving forward as all of you, not just parts of you. And I think that was the defining shift for me. But if I look back, there's one thing that helped me on that journey. And this is my go-to quality. I love this about me, and that is my resilience. I didn't get to where I am without going through a lot of pain and a lot of difficulty. I've had amazing things happen in my life, but I've also had some incredibly challenging things happen too.
Mm-hmm.
And developing that ability to be resilient and to be open to, okay, that was a complete failure. What next? What do I need to learn and integrate from that experience? How do I need to grow, right? So for me, it's always about continuing to grow. And no doubt we're having this conversation and Pamela will probably have a chat in 5 years' time and we'll look back and go, did you see that dot coming? And I'll go, no, I didn't, but isn't it amazing? And you've just got to be open to the flow of life taking you where you want to go, but also being intentional in that too. Not just abdicating responsibility of the steering wheel, but allowing the flow to come to you, but also being able to adjust.
I love that. Being intentional, being willing to adjust. Now, I was thinking while you were talking about being resilient and how important that is. You've been through a lot of pain, ups and downs. I mean, having your life completely shifted on you more than one time, whether it was in business, whether it was finding out that, hey, I'm a woman in a man's world, whether it was in your marriage, whatever it was, you've been through it. You're not the mentor that's just reading out of a textbook saying, okay, so now we do this. Like, you've experienced it. So mentor us for a moment. Those women that are listening, watching right now that are like, I just can't go on. It's too painful. I'm done being resilient. I mean, like, man, I've been so beat up. You don't understand, Joanna. I am at the end. What do you say to her right now?
Yeah. So that's simple. What I would say to you is you're never given anything in life that you can't handle. That's just a fundamental truth. So if you're in a moment where you're finding it challenging or difficult, just understand that you have the capacity to handle and get through whatever you're given. And, life is a process of duality. There's yin and yang, good and bad, there's always duality. So whatever the excruciating pain is that you're experiencing right now, there is the flip side to that, because everything exists at the same time. So if you're experiencing intense sadness, there is intense joy. If you're experiencing intense pain, there is intense ease. And it all exists at the same time. It's just that at the moment, you're down the other end of the spectrum, right? But you have to understand, and this is my absolute life mantra, you are never given anything, any situation in life that you can't handle. And one of the things that helped me really develop my ability to be resilient in those moments was understanding 3 key steps. The first one is you've got to realize you can never go back. Whatever was in the past is in the past. You have to let go of it, right? It's never going to be the same. Nothing in your life moving towards you is ever going to be the same. Even in this moment right now, it is not going to be the same in a moment from now. So the first thing is realizing you can never go back. So if there are things holding you back, you've got to let go. So that's the second step, is you've got to release. You actually have to embrace and accept to release. And there's a process that I use that's very powerful. It's called the Ho'oponopono technique. If you haven't learned about it, you can reach out to me, or you can just Google it on the internet. Very, very powerful process called the Ho'oponopono. It's a forgiveness technique, because a big part of releasing is forgiving other people, forgiving yourself, forgiving the situation, forgiving God. Just forgiveness, right? In general, is a big part of releasing. And the third part is you get a chance to reinvent yourself, because moment to moment, to second, that's what we're doing. Who am I now? Who do I want to be in the next second? Who do I want to be in 10 minutes time? Who do I want to be in a week's time? Who do I want to be in a month's time? We're continually reinventing ourselves. So the pain that we feel is where we get stuck. We get stuck in that moment that's difficult or painful, or we can't let go, or we can't resolve the past, and we get stuck there. So resilience is not about bouncing back. It's actually about reinventing yourself to move forward. And if you realize you can never go back, release what you need to, and consciously decide to reinvent yourself, that's what's going to take you forward. And that's what's helped me. I wasn't always consciously aware that I was doing that throughout my life, but now I'm consciously aware that this is what I'm doing. So when I get a challenging moment, it's like, okay, stop, 3 hours, what do I need to do? Yeah. And that will help you move forward. But whatever it is you're going through, the polar opposite is possible. So start believing in that.
I love that. The polar opposite is possible. And never look back, or never go back. Let go or release, you said, and then reinvent yourself. You're right. It is simple. It might not feel simple in that moment of pain, but these 3 steps are going to help you. So wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, you can begin to apply this today and know that you're going to come through. A minister friend of mine said, if you're going through hell, don't stop, keep going, right? And so I was reminded of that when you were saying, you can't go back. So then that only leaves two options, right? To be stuck or to move forward. And you're showing us how to do that. And that starts with, you said, forgiveness, and then to reinvent yourself. That is just beautiful. And of course, to realize you can't go back. We can't get 30 seconds back. It's done. So I love that. That is so powerful. So you've shared a lot of what has just made you this magnificent mentor, and you speak with such eloquence and a lot of knowledge, which I know did not just come from you reading a book. This has come from the book of your life is what it's come from, right? But now you've begun again reaching out into a whole nother area. Like you're now writing. You were just here in the States for a book and a speaking engagement as well. So tell us a little bit about that, because you write, you speak, you're a mentor, you're in the future, like you're Wonder Woman. So share some more of your story with us.
Okay, so it was an amazing story how I came to actually get the opportunity to come to the States. And it's a good example of taking action. So I woke up early one Saturday morning, and Karen Cherry, who does amazing work with women in conferences, I'd been on her email distribution list, and I looked at my phone and she was calling for co-hosts. And I quickly did the calculation of the time zone differences, and I realized that call's happening right now. I literally got up out of the bed, went straight to the computer and got on the call. Something just said, you need to do this. So I did. I took action, and I had the conversation with Kern, and she invited me to participate as a co-host and come to the United States, which was such an amazing experience. Because what I love about the United States is the innate ability for people to lift each other up. And for those of you that are living in the United States, it's not always like that in other countries. So you're very fortunate to have that space where people want to learn about you, they want to support you, they want to encourage you. That's a beautiful thing to find in life. And so it's to be appreciated. But one of the most important things about that I realized is that for me to really step into the full authenticity of who I am, I need to be able to speak fully as I am, authentically, and share my message.
Yes.
And that process is powerful on a couple of levels. One, because it really helps me shave away all the things that are pretense about me that I no longer need. And it also means that I refine, what is it that I really want to say? What's the essence? How do I deliver this information in a way that can move people, that's going to help people? And I think something that any mentor does is they take concepts that might be more complicated or that you haven't experienced yet, and they're able to refine them and deliver them to you in a way that you can receive. And that's a very powerful process. So the process of speaking has helped me not only step more fully into myself as I really give myself permission to share my story, all of my story with the people that I meet, but also to be able to refine what are the essential things that people need, and how can I translate that information to them, but in a way that moves them, that they're drawn to understand. And that's an incredibly powerful process to go through as a speaker. Like any other discipline, there's a lot to learn, being on stage and what to wear and how the lights work. And so I am continually reskilling myself. And anybody that believes that as you get older, you stop learning, I can tell you it's wrong. I have learned more in the 12 months to me leading up to turning 50 than probably in the 7 years prior.
Yeah.
So age has got nothing to do with learning. It's an attitude in your mind. And I'm really enjoying the process of learning to become a world-class speaker. And I see people ahead of me on the stage, and I admire them, and I want to learn from them, and I want to emulate their qualities. So, I have mentors on the speaking stage that, I want to learn from too. But I do know that the essence is about me being authentically who I am and sharing that with all of you. And that's the essence of speaking. We talked before about writing as well. It's a similar process. I remember my mentor Ron said, "You're going to write a book." I said, "What?" He said, "You're going to write a book." I said, "What?" And so I did. I wrote a book it's called Mind Body Spaces. And one of my evolutions in design was to really understand building biology and how you can create non-toxic spaces and the effect of things on the human body in the built physical form. Not just the aesthetic, but how does the building affect our health, our wealth, our well-being?
Sure.
So that was an amazing process for me. And once again, the process of writing is a clarification process. You take all of the things you understand in your life and you refine them down into a message, and then you put it into a formal structure, which is the written word. So it's a similar process to speaking, but it's a different skill set. One is really writing in a way that's impactful. The other is speaking in a way that's impactful. But at the core of both of them, you're sharing a message with the world.
So
Using different mediums. Yeah.
yes, and that's what you're doing, and you're out there doing it. Now, are you also mentoring on writing through writing or speaking? Is that part of what you do?
Not at this stage, because my focus is really on the women entrepreneurs, the women leaders, and the forums where women need foundational confidence. Perhaps when I feel that I've mastered it, and I think one of the things they say, if you want to master something, teach it. But mentoring, as you alluded to, is a little bit different. Mentoring brings an experience. It's not a theoretical teaching. It's an actual experiential understanding of what that person is about to go through.
Yeah.
So for me in my journey, I consider myself still a newbie to learning the craft of writing and speaking. Talk to me in 5 years' time, maybe it will be different, right? But right now, I'm still a student in those areas, not to the level that I feel I've mastered it, that I could go out and mentor it to the level that I would want to. So I'm sticking to the areas that I know I've already mastered, and I'm adding more to my belt.
That's beautiful. Well, you'll be really, really good at that when you add that to it, because it flows just so freely from you. I wrote down a couple of words that you've said many times. And as we start to wind down towards the end of this broadcast together, I just want to bring these words back up. She has mentioned over and over again being intentional and being authentic. And in a world where being a cookie cutter is very common, I just want to encourage everybody to hear those words and have a look within. Are you being intentional? And are you allowing yourself to just be organically, authentically you? Because that is the you that everybody wants to experience. I believe that we are being organically ourselves today, coming from America, coming from Australia, and that you, Joanna, are just being so transparent, just pulling that curtain back a little bit and showing us a little bit deeper image and picture of where you have been and where you're going. Even to say, I don't feel like I've mastered that yet. Like, that is being really transparent and honest. And that's what this world needs. And so you, as a mentor in the world, and writing, teaching, equipping, speaking, wow, huge, huge blessing to the world of women and beyond. I am so grateful that you are here and sharing yourself and sharing your story today. Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure you touched on that you didn't? And then also, how do we stay in touch? How do people find you and get the book?
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you, because the space requires somebody to create and hold that space, and that is you. So the testament of the level of conversation is really a reflection of your ability to design and create this podcast show and all of the other things that go with it. So I just wanted to take a moment, because it's actually equally if about you. right? None of this would exist without you. So thank you for having me. And I've just loved having the opportunity to get to know you. And so what I would say to all the ladies online is I love to connect with ladies all around the world. So if you haven't connected with me, I would love that. As I said, whether it's the United States, the UK, India, Philippines, Australia, I love to connect with ladies all around the world. We'll put into the chat, some simple things around how you can do that. If one of the things that you might want to do is go to our website, which is thesuccessfulwoman.com. There's a free quiz on the first part of that website where you can check in and find, it's called the Freedom Formula, and you can have a very quick diagnostic around what area of my life is out of whack, because we believe there are 3 core areas that need to be designed and designed intentionally, and that is your business or career. It is your lifestyle, which includes your health, wealth, and well-being, and all of the things around your family. And it's also contribution. So I'm very much focused on helping women contribute more in the world towards that positive change that we talked about. And would just love to, have your thoughts, your feedback, anything that you would like to see. If anybody's game to get on a plane and come to Australia and have an amazing retreat, you are welcome. Reach out to me. We're going to be having the first international trip probably in February of next year. So if you haven't been to Australia yet, you need to come. It is an incredible country and we're going to have an amazing experience. So I'd love any ladies to come. If you feel you can't get here in person, love to just connect with you virtually. So reach out to me, and I'd just love to share the journey with you and have you be a part of our community.
Oh, that's amazing. And what a beautiful community, because it is a community without competition. And it's a community of people being authentic, people being intentional, and being busy about what they were put here to do. Amazing. I'm so glad that you came on the show. Appreciate you so much, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
Now, everybody else that's been listening and watching, I know that you have been taking some notes because I've got like 4 pages here, lots and lots of notes. Will you help me do something, please? As my mentor, Mr. Les Brown, says, like it and share it. Can you help me take this message of hope to the world? I know that you've been touched today, and I know you know somebody, and you know that I know that you know somebody that needs this message. You can send it to them in an email. You can direct message them. You could just post it to your Facebook page. There's so many ways to get the message out there. And Joanna, international mentor par excellence, is here sharing her story today. Let's take it global. Let's take it viral. And Joanna and I can't do that on our own. We need your help. But if we all do it, that comes back to that feeling of community and collaborating together. So if we do this together, we can change the world. So no better place to start than right here. Like it, share it, like it, share it. You know what to do. And thank you for being here. And remember, you are here on purpose with a purpose, by design, not by default. So go out there and be the salt and the light everywhere you go. We'll see you next time on Purpose by Design. Bye.
Ascend Above the Crowd is the newest course by Pamela Hinkle. Ascend is a self-paced email course that will come directly to your inbox and will change your mindset and your life. Each week, you will receive lessons, resources, challenges, and journal writings that will help you discover your purpose by design. It's your time to ascend above the crowd. To learn more about Ascend, go to www.purposewithpamela.com/ascend.
Pamela Hinkle is a mindset mentor, author, speaker, minister, and transformation coach. Her weekly podcast, international radio show, and television show are a lifeline that changes lives and inspires people to discover their individual potential through realizing their purpose by design. Pamela is a natural motivator and has shown many how to find their niche and transform their lives. Although success is an uphill battle, Pamela gives the necessary strategies to flourish, cheering you on every step of the way. Pamela shares from her personal experiences, education, and life as a woman in leadership, utilizing decades of knowledge. Taking the approach of, let's have coffee and chat, she will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Are you ready for Pamela to help guide you? Email us at purposewpamela.office@gmail.com or go to her website at purposewithpamela.com.